Hello, salam, shalom, namaste, sat sri akal, aloha, hola, ciao, and bonjour, and buna, and privyat. It's really, really good to be with you again today. And we have a very special guest with us today. It's Adrian Moreno. And Adrian is a mindset expert, and he's also known as the Business Hypnotist. And I'm so excited to have you with us today, Adrian. Welcome.
Hey, what's going on? I'm really excited to be here. Thanks a lot for having me.
It's absolutely my pleasure and my happiness to have you with us. And I will ask you to please tell us more about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I help people realize they're not broken. I help people create the life that they want by helping them build a mind that works for them instead of against them. So I specifically have been working as a hypnotist, for a good while now. But my overall thing is redefining what it means to be human because I
Mm.
believe we have a very limited perspective on the potential of what it means to be human and what we are really capable of. So yeah, it's a little bit about the work I do, and I'm loving every bit of it.
Oh, I love it. And just in what you shared right now about what you do, my gosh, just there was so many profound things that you said right there. But let's begin to dig into, first of all, one of the first things you said is that you help people realize they're not broken. Tell me more about that.
Well, every as a hypnotist, I specifically work with entrepreneurs and A players. When I say A players, I mean executives, salespeople, producers, right? And I realize a lot of them come to me because they have things that they want to fix. They're like, I have social anxiety. Even salespeople are like, I get anxiety before sales calls, or I have a fear of public speaking. I have a fear of leading my team. I feel like I'm going to lose everything, or they feel like something is wrong with them is the number one thing. They're like, I have this problem. I feel like I'm broken and I need to be fixed in some way. And I also know a lot of people have ideas that they're broken, but that what I just said is the significant part. Ideas of being broken. I want people to understand that being broken is an idea. That's not a reality. There is no such thing as an actual broken human being.
Mm,
Even, I mean, every single one of us are full blown human beings. And I use this, point to like really drive it across. You know, I personally know one of my dad's best friends, he lost both of his legs.
mm,
So he did not have his legs, but that wasn't a broken person or half a personality in any way. That was a full-on human being there. So clearly there is a full being that can never be broken. But
mm,
when we believe we're broken, our reality reorganizes itself to show that. So what I do is I just help people realize they're not broken because when you already have everything you want. You have all your goals. You're as wealthy as you want to be. Like you genuinely do have everything. It's a matter of realizing it. It's not a matter of accomplishment. It's a matter of realization. Have you realized the abundant part of yourself? Have you realized this part of yourself? Have you realized these things?
yeah.
And same thing when it comes to brokenness. Have you realized the fact that broken is an idea and there is a full, complete being holding the idea?
Mm,
And my job is to help that complete being remain unleashed by the beliefs that they put on themselves. So that's basically it, if that answers your question.
gosh. Uh, I just love everything that you shared right now. And it made me think about the example that you gave about your father's friend who had missing legs, or
Hmm.
how you
Yeah.
described it, right? Made me think about really how our society views people who have various what we call disabilities at a physical level. I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
n- all kinds of other things as well, of course. But if you just look at the physical disabilities for a moment, I actually have multiple members in my family, my extended family, who have various physical disabilities. Like like my own brother, he's wheelchair bound. He has not been able to stand on his own feet for I've lost count. I think like 25 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And even prior to his ending up in the wheelchair, he has his genetic disorder because of which, his muscles have been growing weaker and weaker over time. You know, I have an uncle who has that same genetic disorder. Um, you know, and so even with and beyond that, I have other family members like grandparents who, because of age-related issues, developed various physical disabilities and so forth. I have grown up in a home, in a family where I have seen a variety of physically challenged,
Yeah.
like a range of like physical challenges that people have to deal with in their lives. And one of the things that I've learned, especially in the context of having lived with my brother all my life, is that it's not a tragedy that he has this condition or this thing that he has. I mean, it just is what it is. And he's figured
Mm-hmm.
out how to deal with it and live with it
Mm-hmm.
and thrive through it. And so have we. Like, I don't see him as some like poor person, like, poor, like there's a lot of people who have this attitude when they see people with disabilities.
They
They're
have
like, "Okay,
ideas
sorry."
about people.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
they're just
Yes.
ideas. Ideas
Yes.
come from the word IDN, which
Yeah.
means to picture. So they have pictures of people. And yeah, I totally get that.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So I've seen that a lot where people, have all of these, like you said, ideas about what it means if you have a physical disability or if someone else has a physical disability, so to speak. And it causes a lot of suffering to like a lot of these ideas
Mm-hmm.
also creates a lot of self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're like someone who's trying to do stuff in the world to create positive change in your life and other people's life, my gosh, this can really erode at your self-confidence and all of that. So I know you're one of the things you're really awesome at is helping people eliminate self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Tell me more
one.
about
Yeah.
that. Hey, thanks for tuning into this episode. Hope you're getting value out of it. For your information, this episode has been sponsored by the Happiness 101 program. Are you a change maker, coach, trainer, or healer? Are chains of fear holding you back from making the impact and income you desire? Using a unique combination of positive psychology and the spiritual wisdom of our most effective change makers, the Happiness 101 program helps you break through your limiting beliefs and manifest the abundance and success you desire with fun and ease. Interested? Book a free Happiness 101 exploration call with me, your happiness expert, Samia Bano. Just use my online calendar link in the show notes. Now, back to the show.
Yeah. So because I work with entrepreneurs, I noticed that
Mm.
one day I was studying how to become how to copyright, right? So like, I'm an entrepreneur. I like to copyright in terms of
Mm,
copy sales letters and stuff. And in one of the books in the Ultimate Sales Letter, it talks about before you start writing content for your audience, you get to know your audience, like know who you're writing your content for. So something told me to, understand my client a lot. So I have these journals here. These are like just two of a lot of journals that I have. They're full of notes from sessions with clients, right? And what I do is when I'm getting ready, so whenever it said get inside of the conversation that's going on with their mind, I have a lot of details about that. Like, they tell me all of their problems, right? And so one day I went through all of these and went through hundreds of pages, and I noticed the number one fear, the number one problem going on with my clients, and all of my clients make 6 to 8 figures in net, in personal income a year, multiple 6 to 8 figures. So they're very wealthy. I mean, they're not extremely wealthy, but they're well off. They're successful. They're accomplished. They're driven, but they still feel small and inadequate,
mm,
which I saw was really interesting. A lot of them feel smaller than their goals. They feel inadequate. A lot of them felt like they weren't worthy of success. Now that
mm,
they are successful, they have an idea that they're not worthy of maintaining the success
mm,
or multiplying the success. And it was just a constant uncertainty. Even if they had a very successful track record, they were still very uncertain and still very insecure with themselves. And
mm,
so because I saw this, I started to notice this was a big problem for people. In other words, they questioned themselves in terms of who they were. And once I noticed that was the biggest thing that was going on amongst these individuals, it just got me really invested in helping them, because I noticed that a lot of them also don't talk about these things, because when you're running a company, especially when you have team members and stuff, you
mm.
don't want to be perceived as like, hey, I'm going through something right now. You don't
Yeah.
want to be perceived as like weak, even though it's not a perception of being weak. It's just, hey, you're a human being and you're experiencing something. Um, and so they hold it in. And when they hold it in, they just develop more and more of a baggage. It's like you're trying to take off on a hot air balloon, but that hot air balloon is being weighed down by sandbags. And so
Mm,
what I do is I come in and I remove those sandbags so they can get to where they want to go a lot more easier with a lot more fun at the same time.
nice. I love it. So what would you say is like maybe a root cause of like the self-doubt? Because you're absolutely right. It is such a huge problem that so many people face. Pretty much, I think all of us at one
Yeah.
time or another certainly
I think
have had to
everybody, I think
deal
everybody.
with it. I know I've dealt with it. What have you found is like one of the root causes for
Well,
self-doubt?
that ranges in term because I don't care who you meet. There's no fundamental number one root cause for every single problem for every like if I have self-doubt, my root cause can be extremely different from yours,
Mm,
right? In terms of the content, but the
uh-huh,
context is always the same. But the
uh-huh,
context is a belief about yourself. That
right.
content, that is the block. So let's put it
Yeah.
this way. I
Mm,
had a client who was generating $18 million a year in a real estate company. Pretty successful, right? Doing really well. And he was feeling great about, like everything was going great in his business. He got to the point of his business where he was ready to hire a CEO to come in and basically run the company. And he was just kind of going to step back. He was still an owner, but he
yeah.
wasn't really going to be in the day to day anymore. And
Mm,
so he wanted to spend all of his, the number one reason why he wanted to step out was because number one, he didn't expect it to grow this fast. Number two, he really wanted to speak on stages and to write books. That
mm,
was where his heart was at. So
uh-huh.
he said, if I can bring in somebody to run my company, I can have the time to start writing and doing these things. And the problem is he brought in 3 CEOs, but he micromanaged every single one of them, and all of them quit their job.
Uh-oh.
So he quickly realized I have a pattern of room. Every time somebody comes in, I consistently push them away to run my company. In other words, I'm like always taking away my time from writing. I'm always procrastinating on writing. I'm always putting something over writing or something over speaking. And I can't seem to start speaking and writing. Like, dude, what is going on? Like, I'm not sure what's happening. Do you think hypnosis would help? I was like, well, let's figure out what's going on. So hypnosis, not when I work with people, I don't do this every time, but timeline regression is a real thing. And I don't utilize it with everybody. Depending on what's going on, sometimes there's not a need to go back into time. But what timeline regression is imagine shutting your brain off to the point where, not your brain. Imagine right now your brain has a light. Imagine we turn that light off and it gets dark.
Mm,
Timeline regression is turning a flashlight on and looking at every memory, looking at every part of your mind to see where those memories are when you have not paid attention to see where those beliefs are that you have yet to pay attention to. What in your past, what event did you pick something up? All right. And so with this client, he went back to a memory when he was 4 years old. And in this memory of him being 4 years old, he was at his grandma's house and they just got done trick-or-treating. It was Halloween night. And all of them were sitting in a circle, him and all of his cousins. There was like 5 of them. And he was the youngest cousin. He was 4 years old. His oldest cousin was 9. Remember, my client was 33 years old now, but this was a memory. So he's in this memory. It's very vivid for him because in hypnosis, it tends to be pretty vivid. And he goes, I was like, what's happening? And he said, well, everybody's talking and I'm trying to say something. I'm like, well, why, what's happening? He goes, well, in that memory, he spoke up. But when he spoke up, the oldest cousin said, shut up. Nobody wants to hear you.
mm,
So when his oldest cousin told him that, my client tells himself, because this is what we all do. We look at our environment, we look at the events taking place, our data, we look at the data around us and we interpret that data. We make it mean something. So
mm,
in that moment, my client who was 4 years old at the time, his little mind with all the information it had up until that point, did the best it could to make sense of what just happened. And he says, my voice doesn't matter. And then in that moment, he decided to believe his voice didn't matter. No wonder at 33 years old now, he wasn't writing his book and he wasn't being on stages. Why? Because his voice doesn't matter. I don't know about you, but putting your book out there or speaking on a stage, that's putting your voice out there in an extremely vulnerable way. Why would you do that if you genuinely believe, if there's a 4-year-old kid inside of you that believes their voice doesn't matter? Your mind will not allow you to do it, literally because the belief is in itself the root cause. There's it's not that that event was the root cause. It's
right.
not that my voice doesn't matter or nobody wants to hear me was the root cause. It was the fact that he chose to believe those things. A
Yeah.
belief is the root cause to everything. Your entire external world, every circumstance you are dealing with is just a reflection of your own perceptions. It is a reflection of your own projections. And so my client was showing himself that he was not good enough. We did the session and now his book's out. He was writing his book for 4 years. He got it done in 4 months. He was on Newsfeed Weekly. He's been featured on a couple of other like TV channels and a couple of other things now. And he's been speaking. Now he's gotten to speaking engagements and he's doing things. He's over the fear. He's getting to where he wants to go. Why? Because he uncovered the belief behind the emotional response. Because what happens is when you believe something, it creates an electromagnetic charge. A belief creates an electromagnetic reaction, which is a feeling. When a belief creates a belief will create another thought and a like feeling, and then it becomes a circle. And then you are just thinking certain thoughts, feeling certain ways, believing certain things, and you think that you are at the mercy of external conditions, when in reality, you're so intertwined with your environment and the events in it that you can't even dictate and see and distinguish the thoughts and the expectations and the beliefs that created it. So that's the root to everything. If
Yeah.
you're dealing with something, the root cause is not that you don't believe you're good enough. The root cause is not that your voice doesn't matter. The root cause is a belief. Belief is the basis of your human experience. So
Mm.
changing beliefs is the number one way to legitimately, and when I say legitimately, I mean on a physics level,
Yeah.
change your actual world. By changing a belief, your world or reality will reorganize itself to meet the brand new belief. But that's my super long answer to your super short question of what is the root cause to self-doubt.
Ah, thank you for giving that answer and for just being so real about it, because my gosh, I'm totally with you. I 100% agree with you. You know, uh, and isn't it so interesting? Like in this example that you were sharing of this client, on the one hand, he has his belief that his voice doesn't matter, and that was holding him back from writing his book, from speaking on stages in a certain context. But on the other
Mhm.
hand, the other pattern of behavior that he was demonstrating was this micromanaging of other people on his
Yeah.
team, the
And
CEOs, right? And so in
mhm.
that context, he's speaking a lot, and and almost to a point where, or in a way where he's like doing too much of it.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
even
exactly.
right.
Yeah, so look, so there's something interesting here. So the mind's number one job, this is the mind's number one job is self-preservation. It is to keep
Mhm.
you alive and keep you healthy for as long as humanly possible.
Yes.
That's why when you burn your hand on the stove when you're little, you never do it again. The mind is designed to prevent danger and drive you towards pleasure. That is how it keeps you alive.
Mhm.
So in his mind perceived speaking on stages and putting his voice out there is dangerous. So
Yeah.
what his mind did was
Mm.
produce symptoms. It would produce patterns to prevent him from being on a stage like that. And since he felt like he didn't have a voice, that drove his ambition to start a company and say, ha ha, I did this. I'm running this thing now. It gave him a sense of significance that he didn't feel in that moment. So it became a positive thing because it drove him to create success that many of us just dream of, right? But it also was a double-edged sword. And it came with, hey, you're too scared to get out there and lead the way you know you're capable of leading,
Yeah.
right? And it's all because it comes down to that inner perspective of us.
Yeah. And I think it also has a little bit to do with, there's so much that we end up doing in our lives in reaction to try and prove something right or wrong. But if you're doing it from that place of reaction and trying to prove something right or wrong, you can only go so far with that as the motivation and the strategy to move you forward. Because as long as you're in that mindset, underlying that mindset is still there's that part of you that still believes that other thing that you're trying to disprove, you know?
Mhm. Exactly, exactly.
Right.
And can I say one thing that I just really want to kind of get across? Because
Hmm.
when I tell these stories, because a lot of the things that I do is people are like they're doing a lot of timeline regression and they're uncovering what I call, because what hypnosis does, and I think this is important for people to understand. So if they have any weird feelings toward hypnosis, they'd, leave that be, right? I mean, so they can leave that behind. But hypnosis itself is just a process.
Okay.
that hypnosis is not a state of mind.
Mm,
Hypnosis is a process that induces a state of mind. What
mm,
hypnosis does is it gets somebody from beta brainwaves. Right now, me and you, we're in beta. We're in alert, wakeful consciousness. Hypnosis drives somebody all the way past alpha into theta. When you're in theta, something significant happens. Your unconscious mind, the door in between the conscious and the unconscious, when I say the door, I mean it's invisible. It doesn't really exist, guys. It metaphorically opens up and
mm,
it's easier to communicate with it. So you're able to uncover your belief system and change the belief system, right? So that's the reason why it's powerful. It's not like a woo-woo thing. It is a legit science of getting people's brain waves down to change neural pathways. That's all it is. It's just like cognitive behavior therapy and psychotherapy. They do the same thing, but hypnosis does it a lot quicker. So that's basically what it is. Now, with that being said, because your beliefs are your subconscious mind, because I help people access their subconscious mind, they have an idea that, do I have to go back to all my childhood shit to see where I, excuse my language, right? But do I have to go back to all my childhood stuff and see where I picked up these problems? And it's like, no, you absolutely do not. Your
mm,
point of power is right now. Your conscious mind is very powerful. If you follow your patterns of thought, they are coming from beliefs. A belief is nothing more than a thought that you keep thinking. So if you pay attention to your pattern of thought on a daily basis, you will be aware of your belief system. You don't need to go into a trance. You don't need to do I need to go see my inner child to do this. No, but what you need to do is catch the belief when you say it. For example, earlier today, I was pitching some pretty big Fortune 500 company to go in and train their sales team on how to use hypnosis to close more deals. So I was pitching them, and in my mind, I immediately, I mean, because in my body, I felt insecure and kind of not safe, right? Like I felt insecure, a little imposter syndrome. And then I was about to send the message, but something said, they're not gonna talk to you. But I caught myself because I've been doing so, like I've trained myself to like watch my thought. And so I caught myself in that moment and I said, they're not going to talk to me is an idea. That is a belief about reality. That is an assumption of mine, but that is not actual reality. So I used my conscious mind in that moment to
mm.
change my emotional charge by focusing on a different emotional picture,
Oh,
by changing my perspective in that moment. But that you can change beliefs consciously. You
yes.
do not need to access these it's not a super deep state. We go into it every night. When you go to sleep, you go into theta. It's a regular thing. But I just don't want people to like fall into it because I've noticed I've had some people from other podcasts and like other trainings, they would reach out and they're like, do I have to like go through all my deep stuff now? I'm like, look, you actually don't. But what you do have to do is become aware of your constant pattern of thought. That is the key to changing things because patterns of thought are only beliefs externalized. And they're saying, hey, pay attention to me. So it's not a matter of uncovering unconscious beliefs. It's a matter of uncovering beliefs you have yet to examine in your conscious mind. But they are there in your conscious mind.
Mm,
It's just, hey, number one, do you believe they're in your conscious mind? And do you actually intend on examining them? Do you try to examine them? It's important that if you believe you're at the mercy of your subconscious, it will seem that way. Beliefs
yeah.
shape your experience. If you believe, oh, I have some unconscious block going on, that's BS. No, you're conscious of the block that you're saying. The block is the belief that there is a block holding you back.
Yes.
That is the block. It is not the actual, there's a block. I'm like, no, there's a belief that there's a block. My friend, you're creating it. It's not a matter of, so see, the conscious mind is designed to see these things. The conscious mind is designed to see clearly, but it is our own beliefs that shadow us. It is our own beliefs that fuzzle up the image. It is our own beliefs that trick us. that say, hey, you're looking through this prison cell, but the prison cell is actually your own creation and you can easily take it away. But you can do this consciously. Like I want people to understand the conscious mind is powerful. When I utilize hypnosis with somebody, I don't I don't take their conscious mind out of the picture. Their conscious mind is in the picture. Their conscious mind is doing the work because your conscious mind doesn't disappear. When you go to sleep, your conscious mind is still there. Your ego is still there. There's a sense of self that conscious, even when you die, there is a conscious awareness of, hey, I just transitioned, right? That conscious mind that's there is a powerful thing. And so I want people to also just understand, yes, I'm a hypnotist. And in my field, a lot of hypnotists will tell you, you got to uncover the subconscious mind. My friends, the subconscious is conscious if you pay attention. So I just want people to
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
sometimes I think it's just invaluable to say to people.
yes. And oh my gosh, you actually talked about something that I would have asked you about because
Go ahead.
I actually have a very similar perspective to yours. And I always am so, you know, I mean, you already said it all, honestly,
Go
but
ahead. Go ahead. I want to, yeah.
honestly, like one of my biggest realizations that I've had in my life that has been life changing for me, that that these kinds of beliefs about like for example the belief that change has to be hard. It's just going to be
Oh
hard. It's
my,
always
yes.
hard.
That's a
Like
big,
that
that's a
is
famous belief.
exactly. And it's like there's so many other things, right? That
That's an assumption. That's not a reality.
exactly.
You know, I want
And it's
people to
like
see that.
people go into these things like they have this uh, certain surface level knowledge of how therapy works, and people have these images in their mind of, you go to a therapist and you lay down on the couch and you talk about all your childhood stuff, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you have to do that to
That's
get the therapy that you need.
I believe that's damaging to people to consistently
Yeah.
overanalyze your past. I
Mhm.
genuinely believe that's damaging to people. I'm
Yeah.
like, you should pay attention to your current reality because your current reality, your thoughts today, I mean, your reality today is what you thought yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, so everything, the answers are here in this moment. You know, if you go
Yeah.
back in time, you're going back now still,
Yeah.
you know, and I go
Yes.
ahead.
I agree. I agree with you because people spend so much time trying to figure out why, why did this happen to me? How did I end up in this place? I need to dig
Oh,
back into my past, you know what I mean? And it just
can I
takes
say something here?
yes.
Okay, okay. Look, so this is gonna first and foremost, if anybody is thinking that right now, I'm about to save your freaking life with this perspective. So here we go. How did this happen to me? Why am I here? What's going on? I've thought those things too. I'm not here to belittle anybody's situation. I love every human being. I've gone through this stuff too, but I've also got on the other side, and I want y'all to see this. Thoughts literally shape reality. In 1801, we discovered what an electron was. In 1770 something, we discovered what electricity was. In 1820 something, we discovered that electricity produces magnetism. And then in the 30s of the 1830s, we discovered that at the basis of an atom is an electron. It is a electromagnetic field. And only in the 20s in 1920s, did they really start to amp up hey, there is actually something way deeper than matter here. There is actually inside of these pieces of matter, there is an electric magnetic charge that we can't see, but it's alive. In other words, it's vibrant. It is vibrational. And they have tools today that can measure this. So everything you're seeing and not seeing, like the spaces are all right here, they all consist of this electromagnetic energy, right? So
Yes.
now that we got that, in the 1800s, I believe it was late 1800s, there was a scientist that accidentally discovered that the brain was electric and the heart was magnetic. And they
Mm.
saw that actually both the brain and heart are extremely electromagnetic. When you think a thought, it produces an electric magnetic impulse of energy. When you feel an emotion, it produces an electric magnetic impulse of energy. You following me so far?
Yes.
Okay, so clearly we are made of the same stuff that everything in the world is made of,
Yes.
right? Now, our hearts produce a magnificently powerful, godlike, creative, magnetic power. It is a godlike power. When I say godlike, it creates. So this heart that radiates this energy is very creative in its nature. So whenever, and they've measured this on 9/11, we have these two satellites. US has two famous satellites that measure the electromagnetic energy of the earth.
Mm.
One of the satellites on 9/11, when the planes hit the towers, picked up a massive spike in the electromagnetic field. And so
Mm.
they said, hold on, the earth's energy just shifted in ways we've never seen before. So they got that graph, they got the data, they pinpointed the data to see when the two spikes happened.
Mm.
They pinpointed the data to see when the spikes happened. The first spike happened 14 minutes after the first plane hit. The second spike happened like 12 minutes after the second plane hit. In other words, that emotional experience was global.
Mm.
That emotional, I don't care who you were, if you were alive at that time, you felt something, even if you were a little kid who was not even conscious of what was happening. So at that time, there was such an emotional experience. What that emotional experience did was literally go through the atmosphere and change the vibration of the world. So literally, thought by thought, feeling by feeling, you are creating your reality in a very real way. Your world is a reflection of your perceptions. So if you want to figure out why did I get here, you are what's happening to you. You are where you are because of the thoughts in your head. Every idea you hold is an electromagnetic charge that will materialize into matter, into a living experience. So my friends, you are where you are because you thought and you felt yourself there.
Yes. Yes. And it's like the old way of doing things, I will say, because old in the sense that before we had this knowledge, before we had this understanding, we were limited to trying to figure things out at the level of matter. But now that we have this new understanding, we can actually learn to create change and understand things at this other level. And it's just so much faster. If
Yeah,
you're
I just
talking about fun and easy, I find it so much more fun and easy
yes, and
to
that
work at this level.
what you're saying about fun and easy. I love your name and thank you for saying that because I wanted to say something about your name. When you say make change fun and easy, that is genius because I'm not religious at all, right? I respect everybody's religion. I do love what Jesus be talking about. One of the things Jesus says that I love is to enter the kingdom, you must become again as a child, right? To enter the kingdom, you must become again as a child. And if an old man were to go to ask a 7-day-old infant, what is life? That old man would live for eternity. When Jesus said those things, there is something very playful about that. I want you to, when you look at an electron is a positive charge. Literally, the foundation of the universe is like a loving energy. It is a fun, it is a vibrant, it is a creative energy. Look at children. Children are closer to the source. They're not closer to source, but for language purposes, let's just use
Yeah.
it so people understand. They're closer to source than we are. Look how unfiltered they are. Look how expressive they are.
Mm.
Treat changing your beliefs, changing your life like a game. Have
Yeah.
fun with it. Pretend like me before I ever made any real money in my life. I pretended like I had money. I was acting like a kid. Think about this. My nephew, when he was 6 or 7, he was a ninja for Halloween. To everybody else, he was a little 6 or 7 year old regular boy. But to him, that was a trained elite ninja. In his mind, he was a full-on ninja. You could not tell him otherwise. If you said his name, he was like, that's not my name. My name is this ninja name. He was a full-on ninja. That level of expectation, that level of play is what's necessary to change your life through a scientific approach. If you want to scientifically change your life and reorganize your reality, change your electromagnetic field, make change fun and easy, and it would actually happen. One of the principles to making visualization work is childlike wonder. When you approach it like a child, shit just happens for you. So it's so important that people understand that make change fun and easy. Be again like a kid. Be again. It is real, and it makes a profound impact on how fast you get results.
Awesome. Awesome. And oh my gosh, Adrian, I'm having so much fun talking to you and we're running out of time.
I know, I know. I know
So
we're going a little
I
bit
have
over,
to
but
wrap up
yeah.
for today, but do you have any last words? How can people get in touch with you?
Well, my last words before I tell them some like what just what I want them to. If you're gonna take away anything from this conversation, it is that you are godlike in terms of how you can create.
Mm.
There is a very, you see this picture back here, right? It's of Adam reaching out to God. If you notice, Adam's fingers all limp. It's just kind of hanging out there, not just chilling. And then God's hand is like, hey, I'm trying to, like, I'm right here. You don't need to work really hard. We are the same thing if you just realize that. There is a creative power within every single one of you. You are not at mercy of external events. You are not at mercy of events outside of you. There is no separate event from you. All of the events that are happening in your life are extensions of you. So you can change whatever you want by just changing the pictures in your head. If you change the picture in your head, the world will project that picture right back to you. So spend some time every day focusing on what you want. And whenever you're moving forward in your day-to-day life, move forward with that image top of mind. So the whole time I've been speaking here, the TEDx logo has been in my mind. Why? Because that's my next goal. So in every action I do, whenever I'm waking up, when I'm working out, when I'm talking to you, this is my second podcast interview of the day. When I'm writing, when I'm doing something, TEDx is in the top of my head. I keep it top of mind. And where do I go? I go in those directions. Keep in mind, there's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. Those are ideas about reality. You are literally the creator, and you can do whatever you want with that. So I'm going to say that. Now, aside from that, if you want to continue to follow me, there's two ways you can follow me. The first and foremost way is going to be a real, you know what, actually, I'm going to just give them this way. So I simplify it for them. And number two, it's going to show them all of my other socials.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in changing your belief system and gaining a level of unshakable certainty in yourself, so you can come on shows like this, you can walk on stages, you can present yourself like the person and the powerful individual that you are. If you want to be more certain in yourself and you want to trust your decisions and move forward and express yourself, I created something called the Unshakable Entrepreneur. What it's designed to do, it's 100% free for your audience. What it's designed to do is it's designed to take you through an experience where you are going to be able to truly dip into a powerful state of mind and eliminate things that are holding you back, like self-doubt, insecurity, performance anxiety, or the thought of being broken. So if that sounds even slightly interesting to you, just go to www, and you can put this in the show notes, but
Yes.
www.rewiremythoughts.com/unshakable, www.rewiremythoughts.com/unshakable, and just put your email in. And yes, you got to give me your email. Put your email in, and then it's going to go ahead and it's going to shoot it straight to your email, and you'll have sign-in access. And my emails will say, hey, look, here's my podcast, here's my socials, and then you'll be able to like follow me if you want to more personally there.
Nice.
And I
Awesome.
message my email list every day, so we can talk through email every day.
Coolness. That's amazing. That's awesome. For sure, we'll add your links in the show notes. So people, our dear listeners, please check those show notes. Connect with Adrian. I'll also, by the way, drop my links in there if you want to get in touch with me. And until we connect next time, I just wish you lots and lots of peace and joy.